Hello and welcome to MTG808Junior, where we talk about my project of starting a youth Magic tournament league here in Hawaii. So today's video we're going to be focusing on the issue of card accessibility, specifically in regards to Rarity, because I'm kind of caught in this funky place where we're trying to get the kids to enter the Magic community, which means getting them to play Standard. Or like drafting and Standard. Drafting is very complex, but drafting and Standard are like the bread and butter of FNMs and stuff like that. So getting the kids involved in the community would be getting them up to that point. So balancing that. Commander is also one of the pillars of the format, right? The casual players love playing Commander. I'm not a Commander player, but I know that Commander is really powerful and really popular. So Commander, Draft, and Standard are like the three formats that I'm trying to scaffold the kids up to, while balancing it with the issue of card accessibility, right? If we want to make the club accessible to new players and to in the interest of growing the club, growing the tournaments and stuff like that, we got to balance it because a $1,000 Commander deck is always going to beat your $20 pre-con, right? Almost like 95% of the time or whatever. And the same thing goes for Standard. And drafting is pretty expensive to learn how to do, right? It's a very skill intensive format. It's rather expensive, right? You got to pay like $9 if you get a deal on packs. You got to pay like $9 per draft that you do. So the issue is card accessibility. For the tournaments that I've been running, just to like gain interest and cast the widest net possible, been doing Standard Pauper, which it's done very well for the tournaments. The format is deep, the format is interesting. There are like pillars of the metagame, like certain archetypes that are always there, like Black-Red Madness is always there, Green-Red Energy is always there, small weenie red aggro decks are always there. But so the tournament format, that's really good. But the kids don't only just want to play tournaments, right? I'm trying to make the community accessible to kids that just want to play casually as well. So, going to a tournament isn't going to appeal to everybody. So I've been putting a lot of thought into other formats. I've been talking with the kids about this and getting their feedback. And the answer that I've come up with, and that the kids have said, like, we think this is a good idea, we would be interested in doing this, is just capping, putting a limit on the rarity of cards that you can use, right? So I was talking with the high school kids up over at Nanakuli about Commander, and there's 2 kids that have Commander decks right now. They're like, not Tier 1 Commander decks, but they're Commander decks that they're building and working on to try to compete in, the adult Commander community. Right, so those kids kind of take Commander relatively seriously, and they're kind of stuck in the middle between their friends that don't play Commander at all and the adult Commander community. And then there's one other kid who's trying to build a Commander deck. He's in the process of trying to put one together. I think he recently bought a pre-con. But then the rest of the kids, their collections aren't big enough to play Commander, right? So I was talking about them. I asked the kids that don't have Commander decks, like, if the format was accessible, would you want to play? And it was pretty much a quick resounding yes, right? Like, they love playing multiplayer games, they love playing, big casual, just battlecruiser Magic, right? The Commander is fun, they like the politics of multiplayer games, right? Like, the best player isn't always going to win because everyone's just going to gang up on him, right? So Commander, for the high school kids, I think it's right where they want to be. So I suggested to them a format with just 3 mythics and 10 rares, and then the rest has to be commons and uncommons, and we would put the cap at Modern forward. So if a card was printed in Modern, or if a card is legal in Modern, or if it was printed in Commander, Supplement, or Conspiracy, since Modern, which is basically all of the Commander supplemental product and the Conspiracy sets, then it's legal. So Modern plus Conspiracy plus the Commander, and then have a cap on the rarity. Yeah, I think that is a good way to kind of regulate the power level You know, if a kid wants to build a commander deck, they have a reasonable shot at doing it, right? It's not going to cost them hundreds of dollars. If they want to like make a real sweet one, they can work on it. But having something to play with, I think, is the most important part, and they can get that for, you know, relatively cheap. The precons would be, I don't know if they would be legal in this format. I would have to look at the card list from the precons, but like they would be, you could buy a precon and, you know, be competitive at about the same power level as people in this format. So that's just my idea that I came up with. The kids were on board with it. They said it sounded good. So we'll see if they build decks for that format. We'll see how much they play. I don't think I'm going to be running tournaments for this format anytime soon. Not inter-school tournaments, at least. I know within the high school club they run tournaments amongst themselves. So we'll see if that pans out. But I think the issue, thinking bigger picture here, like the issue with Standard now is that the mythics are just all so powerful, right? So you have to have Heart of Kron, you have to have Gideon, you have to have Chandra, you have to have Saheeli, right? All the Gear Hulks. So if we just, you know, address it by curtailing the rarity, I don't know how this philosophy would transfer to Standard in terms of Standard scaffolding. I have thought about formats of Standard where you just have, like, you can only play 4 rares, or you can only play 2 mythics and 4 rares, right? But I'm hesitant to fragment the community to the point by creating too many formats, right? Like, I suggested this Commander format to the high school kids because this is something that they're going to play on their own. But I don't want to run tournaments that's going to fragment the Standard Pauper, right? Standard Pauper is the most accessible. It's still really fun and interesting. And, like, I'm not sure at what point I would want to switch to, you know, limiting the rares in Standard and playing that. I don't know what I would call that format. If anyone has a name of what they would call a Standard format where you limit the rares, let me know. I can't call it limited Standard because... yeah, but that was my first idea. But anyway, yeah, trying to address the issue of rarity. We'll see how this works. I came up with this idea after talking with Matt from California and his Magic Club. What he does is he gives the kids a price, right? Like, you have $15 to spend on TCG Player. Go build a Modern deck using $15, and he says that, you know, all of, like, Polukranos is super cheap, right? You can basically build a deck with former Standard All-Star rares for under $15, right? And that makes a lot of sense. My hesitancy with a format like that, I think that makes for a really cool project. Creating a deck out of just $15. That's a cool project. I would have to tell a kid to do that, to write about it, and that would be a cool project that a kid can do. I'd give them packs for that from the quest log. But making a format that has a price cap makes it hard to enforce because the prices fluctuate so much. So I think just keeping it at rares in terms of making a format is the way to go. But I do really like Matt's idea, and I'm just throwing it out there if anyone is listening and thinks that structure for having your kids build decks is good. He said that there's, like, you know, all the cards from Theros and Khans of Tarkir are like a quarter, and there's some pretty powerful ones, so the kids can build basically just old Standard decks for under $15. Alright, so that's what I think about rarity and what I'm trying to do to address it while still moving the kids forward towards Standard and Draft and full-fledged Commander. So let me know what you think, and thanks for watching. Shout out to everyone that makes this possible. Thanks. Peace.